And for the final instalment on how maybe not to paint a Star Destroyer. No, it's come along pretty good. So you can see I've changed a few things. I added another layer of masky tape, little squares and things like that, just to give it a little bit more depth when we painted it and went over with another light coat. Now, as you see there, I've got the larger patches of mask. What I've done then is gone over with a white, very, very thin, and just used it to highlight around those areas. So I'll just grab a little pair of tweezers. So I sort of sprayed along that line and along this line here and along the front section there, just very, very lightly there, just to sort of break it up and give it a slightly different look or a brighter look on the surface and give it a little bit more depth. Hopefully give it a little bit more depth when we're done. So what we're going to start now is I'll start peeling off these little squares, and we're just going to show you really quickly how to lift some of them off. You don't have to do anything special to do it. You don't have to be rough with it or anything like that. Just very gently. And we'll start with a little square just here. We'll zoom in a bit better so you can have a look. So I hope the other ones have been useful for you so far, and we'll just see how we go with this and see how it turns out and whether or not you might like to try it, because we don't know for sure. Alright, so I just got my scalpel and very carefully just going to lift up that little edge there if we can, so the paint's going to hold it down. Be careful not to run it across the surface of the model. Now this edge, there's probably not going to be a huge amount of difference on this one, so it's okay. Alright, so there's only a slight bit of difference on that. You can see that there. And there's a little discoloration because it wasn't pressed down properly, and I kind of figured that was going to happen, but what do you do? All part of the process. So let's try another one, see what happens. Let's try, sorry, wrong tool. Let's try one at the front here. I'll just hold that a bit better. It's come up pretty well. And there you go, you can see that little effect we were looking for. You see that there? Quite nice, quite simple. Now we're going to go across the whole model and see how it works out. I'm going to lift up one of these big ones here so you can just have a look at that as well. Now these are obviously going to be a lot easier. So the whole section comes up there, look at that. Alright. Now the colour change is only very slight, so you can see the difference between the colour here and there. Alright, so it's only very, very slight. That might darken up a little bit once we put the clear coats on, but we'll check that out when we get to it. Alright, so there we go. So it could be me just being a little bit too pedantic, but I think that'll work quite well. Let's have a look at the front section there. Oh, it's in shadow. That's not going to help you, is it? Let's just peel them all off. And it comes off really easily too, so you don't need to worry about damage. As long as it's been put on dry, it'll look fine. So there you go. Again, you can see the colour difference between the top panel and the lower panel. Alright, so it just helps to give it a bit more effect. It's an effect that, a bit more depth rather. It's an effect that armour modelers use all the time. And it works quite well on highlighting the higher panels, giving it a sense of light striking that high area. And I think it's hopefully just helped this little model to stand out a little bit more. So we'll continue on with it, and I'll remove all these and we'll come back in a few minutes. I am going to remove them and show you that first, and then I will hit it with a gloss clear, and then we'll let that dry and we'll continue on from there. All right, thank you. Wow, that didn't take too long. So that's all the tape removed off the top surface. What do you reckon? I reckon that's not too bad. I will say this for it. I was worried about the contrast being too light. I think I've gone too high, but we might be able to make that a bit more uniform a little bit later on. But it certainly breaks up the surface a fair bit, doesn't it? But yeah, I do think my first coat was just too dark, but we'll see. One thing I tried on this, and it actually works reasonably well, is trying to stick a few squares over other areas just to to give them some odd shapes and make them look like adjoining panels, things like that. I think that works quite well, and it looks good. Certainly you could do more stickers than what I have, and you know, you'll get a much better effect, and you could probably, as I was saying, probably a bit too dark, so you could tone down some of the layers. Some of the little bits didn't stick down very well, and at first, like you probably see the first one I peeled off didn't come off all that well. I was sort of like, oh well, you know, you get that. And it's just my luck, I chose that one first. But it's not the tape that's done it. What I think it's done it is I actually used a different chopping board, and on some of the bits of tape there's tiny bits of wood underneath it that come off the board, and it stopped it from sitting down. So I normally use a bamboo board for this, and I'll probably go back to using it. The one that I used this time was wood, and I haven't had any issues with the bamboo one, so I might go back to using that next time. But yeah, so I reckon that's come up pretty well so far, but we're not done yet. We've still got a few more bits and pieces to go. Alrighty, so thanks again, we'll see you shortly. Okie dokes, so we've taken the model outside. As I said earlier in my videos, I don't like to spray the clear coats inside, so I have taken them outside, and it's come up quite well. So what have we achieved? Let's have a look. So it's made the surface glossy. As I was saying earlier, I do a gloss, and then I do a flat coat or semi-flat, just depending on what I'm wanting to achieve. Now, it has brought out the differences in the tones. So if you go out and have a look, you can see the difference in the tone on this big section here is now more apparent than on the section below. So with the clear out of the can, it tends to sort of blend the paints together a bit more nicely. So you get a higher contrast between the layers. And once again, you can see it on these surfaces here. If you remember, I taped off the section there and just hit those highlighted areas. I think it's looking quite good. The other important thing, now remember during the painting tutorials I was saying don't worry about the high areas, things like that. It's not that huge an issue. When you take the tape off, you'll find there are some areas where the paint is raised a little bit. So it might have been a build-up of paint or a bit of overspray, etc, etc, etc. With the Tamiya Clear, and this is really one of the things I love about it, it'll actually help blend those areas in and make them a bit more level again. Now, sometimes it seems as if it's almost eating at the paint, for lack of a better term. Other times it's just the clear building up around the raised area, but it does tend to blend those two areas together a lot more nicely. So I think it's come up quite well. I'm not happy with the really dark areas. I should have not doubted myself in the beginning. It's my first tutorial. Should have not doubted myself in the beginning and gone a bit lighter than what I intended to, but that's okay. Lessons learned, and you can see the effect quite well anyway. Certainly, if I do another one of these, I will do a lot more squares, just to get the effect more over the model. But I think it's come up quite well. So we've applied our gloss coat. That's now dried. So give it time to dry. What do we do next? Well, you remember in the beginning, we're saying X19 smoke, and we weren't too sure. I wasn't too sure if we're going to use this or not. Normally, I probably wouldn't, but I think it's probably not bad for a demo. I'm just going to do this bit of a test and see what the thickness is like. Not bad of a demo to give you sort of an idea of a weathering technique, which quite a few modelers have used. Now this is a bit of a tester, so we're just going to see if my mix is right. I've used about 1 part smoke to about 10 parts Tamiya thinner, so it's quite thin. You don't need it very thick. Certainly, it will show up, and you can see it there as I've put it on. It's shown up quite well. Alright, so we're going to use this to give it just a bit of a worn, weathered look to it, just to continue on that effect that we were trying to achieve. Now, I might keep it to the low areas, but we'll just see how we go. I might even thin it a little bit more. But, let's have a look. Alright. I don't think it's looking too bad. It's looking pretty good. So you want to keep with these, with the sci-fi sort of Star Wars model genre. You'll notice a lot of the models have heavy weathering on them. Now, typically weathering is exactly that, weathering. So how do you get weathering on a spaceship? Well, good question. But the effect still looks really good. So you want to try and keep it, so as I was saying, it's a weathering effect. You can imagine rain and things like that. It's sort of like what it does on a car. If you haven't washed your car in a long time, you see you build up a dust and dirt, things like that, streaking with the rain. Similar effect we're trying to achieve with these models. But I don't want to overdo it with this because we really want to keep it in scale, so I'm just keeping it fairly light. And we'll just work it as we go. Now, I'll have some completed photos of this model on my DeviantArt page, so by the time this is loaded I should have some completed photos with the flat coat on it again. So for those of you that would like to have a look at it 100% done, it'll definitely be up there for the page. And another thing that this mix, the Tamiya Smoke, we might even go a bit thicker with the Tamiya Smoke mix to accomplish this, is it's really good at giving depth. So I'm just going to lay that on the recess areas and lay it on quite heavy. So you see how that's built up. Now that'll dry out quite well with the thinners and just really add to the depth of that area, make it look a bit better. And we'll do it along this little seam section here as well. Not too bad. Hey, and guess what? I'm managing to film it in shot. Can you freaking believe it? In shot, no less. And we'll just go along the trenches. Okay, now I've used a lot of different things for weathering and adding depth. The reason why I love this is you can just wipe it off. If you make a mistake, it's not an issue. Just get a clean cloth or even a tissue and just, if you're game, just wipe it off. Really, really easy. And you can keep going over the same areas if you want to build up that level of depth again. I'm just going to go over these trenches. I keep saying trenches, guys, superstructure, whatever you want to call it. I just want to give them nice bit of depth. So I'll keep working this so you can see me do it. And I'm going to move that paint pot because my hand's going to be getting really annoying for you guys. Excuse me. Damn amateurs. Alright, so that's how just keep building it up till I'm happy with it. Now, I don't know how much of that effect you can see because it is a tiny model. We're just trying to give an example. Now, you can actually do this as well, and I've done it with another model which I'll soon do a review on for. You can actually do this with ink. Ink and a bit of water, and it is quite a stark effect. It looks really good. You got to be careful not to overdo it, of course, and make sure that it's really thinned. So I'll actually show you. I won't demo it, but I'll actually show you a model which has had that on it, and we'll explain it, the process, a bit better. In the meantime, I'll just keep going along here. A big thanks to all the guys on Facebook and a DeviantArt page, everything like that. Huge thanks. The reception I've gotten from people has been really good. So thank you so much for that. My subscribers, I'm now over 35. Now, I know for a lot of people that's nothing. For me, that is awesome. Thank you so much, guys and girls, for subscribing. It does mean a lot to me. So thank you. Now, you see that there? It's just making everything sort of pop a little more. Alright, we're just going to go down along the sides here. And I sort of just move about along the model. I don't really have a set process. And if you do it too thick, like I've just done there, use a brush. You don't even have to wipe it. Just use the brush, lift it up. Simple. Right, and it really is a subtle effect. This is another effect, I'm not sure if I said it already, this is another effect that modellers tend to use a fair bit. Alright, that's another one of my loves. I do like modelling. I haven't done so many of them lately. I'm really getting heavily into the sci-fi stuff at the moment. Alright. and the bridge. I've been hanging out to do this bit. Just zoom in a bit for you. Every time I see the bridge, I think of an A-wing crashing into it. I know, I just can't help it. Alright. How cool would that be for diorama? Nice big bridge section with an A-wing about to smash through the vision port. Hint, hint. Someone's got to do one. Come on, I'd love to see that. Alright, almost done on the top. Now I'm quite happy with that, and as you can see, there's a little bit too much just here, so we'll just fix that up. How easy is that? Oh, easy peasy. And since it's a Bandai kit, I can say Japanesey. How about that? Alright. Keep going down. There. Bit of shadow, sorry everyone. Now you can work this effect as much as you like. It's only very subtle with the thickness that I've got, so you can work it as much or as little as you want. No, totally up to you what you want to do. I am going to go around the trenches and around the back now and underneath. So I'll just show you the back here. Once again, I still haven't installed the engines. So by the time I do the photos, the engines will be installed. And I'll go from there. And I might even do a slightly darker mix just to go over these bits. I still haven't decided. But let's just watch this pick up the detail in here. If we can. Nice grubby. I meant not grummy. Nice grubby ship. We're going to go darker, I think, definitely, just to bring that out. And I'll also finish painting up the engines, so the engines are pretty much ready to go. I just need to install them, and because I'm not doing LEDs, I'll paint the interiors of them sort of a white and whitish blue, just to give it the effect of being on. Just resume that, yep. Thank you, and go from there. Really want a little bit darker in here, so I'll come back and do that again. It's just not dark enough. So I can load it, I could do it a couple of times, or I can change the mix. I'll probably just change the mix, I think, just make it a bit darker. It's really not dark enough for in there, but it's fine for the outer areas. Alright. What do you reckon, everyone? By all means, please comment. Send me your thoughts. Love to know what you think. Whether you might try this, and if you do try it, love to see what you do. Love looking at other people's stuff. It's fantastic, and by that I mean models. Dirty people. Yeah, no, it's part of the fun. Part of the fun of the hobby. Seeing what everyone else is doing, trying to learn some new things. But I think that's come up a treat for a very small kit. I'm in love with it. The detail is the detail on the kit is fantastic, and it really lends itself to just some basic improvements. So, I mean, what do? We spent a bit of time spraying it, a little tonal variation, giving it a clear coat, giving it a wash, and then it'll get another flat clear coat over the top of it. I'm going to go matte, so I'm not going to keep it glossy as you see here. So it will go matte, and just make it look all nice and neat. Finish it up, fix it up, and it's all done. Tips, suggestions, hints, anything you'd like to see next, let me know. I've already had a request from a friend to do another sci-fi model from the Bandai range, but my budget just won't stretch that far at the moment. So I am sorry, mate, but I'm going to have to give it a miss for the time being, but hopefully it'll come in soon. But yeah, by all means, I hope you like this, and if you want to see anything, let me know. If I can accommodate you, I certainly will. And yeah, hope you enjoy it. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks to everyone who subscribed and liked and put comments in. Once again, means a lot. Makes me feel kind of like Spielberg, Lucas, even Roddenberry sometimes. Even not quite the same comparison, but you know what I mean. But yeah, all right. Thank you so much, and I am signing off. Bye bye.